ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Hadith number 16. Hadith number 16. Very short hadith, but very important hadith. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله تعالى عنه أن رجلا قال للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أوصيني قال لا تغضب فردد مرارا قال لا تغضب رواه البخاري. Somebody want to read the English, please?
On the authority of Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, a man came to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and said, "Advise me." The Prophet ﷺ said, "Do not become angry." The man repeated his request several times, and he told the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "Do not become angry." Recorded by Bukhari.
Okay, so mashallah, the hadith is very clear itself, so we won't spend too much time on it. But the first thing, the narrator of the hadith is Abu Hurairah, and we've discussed Abu Hurairah many times before. This hadith, a man, he came to the Prophet ﷺ, okay, and it's really important to understand the psychology, the mindset, how the Prophet ﷺ used to respond to his people, or the people used to come to him with questions. A man came to him and said, Awsini. Awsini means, give me some personal advice, give me some private advice. You know when you take somebody to the side and you want something personal, okay? He wanted some personal advice. And he asked the Prophet, tell me something which is special. I want, I'm with you, it's me and you alone, tell me something special. The Prophet, he knew this man. He looked at the man and he said to him something very small. La taghdab, don't become angry. So the man, he heard this and he thought, no, it's not enough. I want more. So he asked him again. He said, Ya Rasulullah, give me something more. I ask you again. And then the Prophet responded and said to him, La taghdab, the second time. Then he asked for the third time, thinking he's going to get some more special advice. But the Prophet again, he just said to him, La taghdab. There's so many things we can learn from this. The first thing we can learn is that the Prophet ﷺ, when he was asked personally, he didn't give everybody the same answer. He looked at the person asking him, and he looked at his situation. And the Prophet ﷺ knew this person who was talking to him, he's got anger problems. He suffers from anger management. He gets angry very quickly. So he knew that, and that's why he said to him, La taghdab. So that's the first thing. When we are talking to people, we should understand their mindset, their psychology. If we're talking to a child, we don't speak in the same language as we do with the adult. If you're talking to an adult, you speak differently. So here, the Prophet ﷺ understood the mindset of the person asking him, and he gave him that advice. The second thing, in most cases, when we find that somebody came to the Prophet ﷺ and asked him for private advice, Awsini, when even Mu'adh ibn Jabal once asked him, give me some advice. He said, Ittaqillah haythuma kunt, fear Allah wherever you are. We find that in most cases where somebody asked the Prophet ﷺ for personal advice, the Prophet ﷺ always responded with something relating to husn al-khuluq, good manners. This was in most cases when somebody asked. He didn't give them a political answer, he didn't give them an economical answer, he didn't give them a social answer, he gave them a personal answer about their character. This is one of the beautiful things we find. The other thing we can learn from this hadith as well is, especially those who are in positions where they give khutbahs or give lectures, or even as parents when you're advising your children, or a husband, wife, etc., is that sometimes you don't need to say too much. The Prophet ﷺ never used to give lengthy khutbahs and lectures. No, he knew his audience. So he would just say a few words and that's enough. So what we can learn from this is that we do not need to talk too much when we are giving sermons or when we are advising people. Just a few words, the person can handle it and the message will get there. Furthermore, the Prophet ﷺ, he spoke about anger. Why? Because anger, as we know, is the destruction of all things. It is only when somebody is angry is when he makes the biggest mistakes. And if you look back in your life where you have made mistakes, you will find many of those are when you are angry. Okay? A man will pronounce divorce to his wife when he is angry. He's not going to do it while he is happy. So it is anger that takes control. Okay? A man will break relations with his brothers or with his friends when he is angry. Okay? Destruction comes when a person is angry. We know the Prophet ﷺ, he said that the shaitan is like he's running inside of your blood. So when you become angry, it is he is taking control of you. And you will do things which you will regret. So that's why the Prophet ﷺ, he focused a lot of emphasis on not becoming angry, because that will make you do wrong things. So there are three things, okay, three understandings to this hadith about not becoming angry. Some of the scholars said that the Prophet ﷺ here is referring, when he said La taghdab, this is referring to the fact that you should change your character when you are in these states of weaknesses. We all know our weakness. Some of us, mashallah, we are very patient, we don't get angry very quickly. Some people do get angry very quickly. So the scholars, they said from this hadith, we can understand that the Prophet ﷺ is advising us to change our character. All of us to look into ourselves and to be more generous, to be more kind, to be more tolerant, and to be more listening. This is the alternative advice from the hadith. The second view is that the Prophet ﷺ, what he meant by this statement is that when the person becomes angry, he should control his anger. Okay? So it's not just do not become angry, don't get to that stage, but even when somebody becomes angry, he should control himself. He should control his words, he should control his hands, and he should control his actions. Furthermore, the Prophet ﷺ said, لَيْسَ الشَّدِيدُ بِالسُّرْعَةِ إِنَّمَا الشَّدِيدُ الَّذِي يَمْلِكُ نَفْسَهُ عِنْدَ الْغَضَبِ. The Prophet ﷺ said that the strong person is not the one who is a strong wrestler or who can take somebody down, but a strong believer is somebody who controls himself at the time of anger. It is reported that the Prophet ﷺ throughout his whole life, Anas bin Malik, he said that the Prophet ﷺ, while he was serving him, and we know Anas bin Malik was the ghulam, okay, the servant of the Prophet ﷺ, and he was with him for 10 years. And he followed him wherever he went. He gave him his water, he gave him his food, he looked after him for the whole 10 years while he was in Medina. And Anas bin Malik, he said, I never heard once that the Prophet ﷺ even said uff. He never even said the word uff when he became upset or when he became angry. In fact, he never asked him, and when he did something, why did you do that? Why did you do such and such? He didn't even question him to put him in a difficult situation. The Prophet ﷺ controlled his anger. Now, this is the next part is important. How do we control our anger? Okay, so you can make note of this. How do we remove one's anger? What are the steps? The first thing to note is that a person, when he becomes angry, should know that shaitan has overtaken his body. Okay, that shaitan is now taking control of his actions because he is angry. So he is aware that shaitan is now present and is going to have impact on his actions. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, إِذَا غَضِبَ أَحَدُكُمْ وَهُوَ قَائِمٌ فَلْيَجْلِسْ فَإِنْ ذَهَبَ عَنْهُ الْغَضَبُ وَإِلَّا فَلْيَضْطَجِعْ. That the Prophet ﷺ said, if somebody is angry, and while he is angry he is standing, then he should do what? You can say, but if he's standing, he should sit down. If he is sitting and he becomes angry, he should do? He should lie down. Okay? So the first thing is we can do certain movements which will help us to control our anger. Okay, so the first is certain positions, move your positions. The second thing the Prophet said, إِذَا غَضِبَ أَحَدُكُمْ فَلْيَسْكُتْ. That when a person becomes angry, be quiet, close your mouth. Don't say anything. You're angry now, just close your mouth. Okay? Don't say anything because you're going to make a mistake. Okay, and also like the auntie said, is when the person becomes angry, is to say أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, to get rid of shaitan. And also the Prophet ﷺ said, if a person becomes angry, okay, then he should make wudu. Okay, so he should move and go and make wudu. And drink the water. Why? Because in one hadith the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّ الْغَضَبَ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ, that anger is from shaitan. وَإِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ خُلِقَ مِنَ النَّارِ, and shaitan was created from fire. Okay? وَإِنَّمَا تُطْفِئُ النَّارُ بِالْمَاءِ, and the only way to put fire out is with water. Okay? So it said, فَإِذَا غَضِبَ أَحَدُكُمْ فَلْيَتَوَضَّأْ. So therefore, if a person gets angry, he should go make wudu, because that will put the fire out. Okay. the virtues of being forgiving and kind. Okay, so one should note that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has praised the person who is kind and has praised the person who controls himself. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in one verse he said, خُذْ الْعَفْوَ وَأْمُرْ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَأَعْرِضْ عَنِ الْجَاهِلِينَ. The Prophet said, خُذْ الْعَفْوَ, be forgiving, be pardoning with one another. Okay, don't show anger to one another. Further, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in another verse said, لا يحب الله الجهر بالسوء, that Allah does not like people who show off their evil or who make their evil apparent in front of other people. So when somebody becomes angry, he will do something wrong and people will see it. Allah doesn't like it that people do wrong things openly in front of everybody. Okay, if you make a mistake, that's different. If you make a mistake by yourself, that's different. But if you become angry and in front of the people, you show this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't like that a person openly shows his anger to people. Rather, Allah said, وَسَارِعُوا إِلَى مَغْفِرَةٍ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ وَجَنَّةٍ عَرْضُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَعِدَّةٍ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. Allah said, سَارِعُوا, and race and hasten to forgiveness. That is where your success lies. Okay? Forgive one another. There is one last thing before we conclude this hadith, and we're inshallah going to do 2 hadith today. The one last thing is, does it mean that every time we're angry we just be quiet? Okay? Every time something happens to us we just remain quiet? No, we don't. Okay? The first thing is, if it's relating to our rights, our huquq, then we must speak and we must voice our concern. So this is one thing. Al-amr bil ma'ruf wal nahy anil munkar. It doesn't mean we remain silent all the time. The second thing is that there are certain types of anger which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala He likes. Okay, that a person's, they say in Arabic, al-izzah, I think in Urdu they will say izzat. Okay, if this is concerned, someone is messing around with your ild or your izzah, your honor, then you must get angry. Or somebody is insulting your deen, insulting Allah, insulting Prophet ﷺ, then you must also get angry. This is part of our faith and there's reward in that because this is your life. This is what we live and die for. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said in the Quran, Ya ayyuhan nabiyyu jahil al-kuffar wal-munafiqina waghlud alayhim wa'murhum wa ma'wahum jahannam wa bi'sal masir. Allah said, Ya ayyuhan nabiy, He said to the Prophet jahil al-kuffar, that make jihad against the disbelievers, wal-munafiqin, and those who are hypocrites. Waghlud alayhim, and be severe against them. Wa ma'wahum jahannam, and verily their ending is going to be the hellfire, wa bi'sal masir, and what a horrible place this is. Okay? Now once again we have to contextualize what we're saying. This is not an open verse to go and start doing things, but this is in the context of war or in the context of hostility. Okay? In those circumstances, if you're on the battlefield or if you're in a wartime situation, then the way to show the correct mannerisms is to show your strength against them. Okay? And this anger is praiseworthy. Somewhere.
This hadith saying that we should not, personally should not be angry. So if somebody attacks us, we should not be angry on that. But for Islam,
that's a good point. Okay, and that's a good point. I want to make mention is also when it comes to the issue of anger, there is a personal anger and then there is a deen anger. So if somebody insults you personally, then it's best to just leave it, let it go. But if the insult or the damage is coming to your deen, then it is from your iman that you get angry. That you have to show some resistance, you have to show some hostility, that you can't just let somebody or something insult the Prophet ﷺ and you just smile in their face and think this is okay. You know, this is something which naturally makes us angry. Okay? So these are the acts that where the anger is permissible. Furthermore, the Prophet ﷺ in one hadith, he said, أَسْأَلُكَ كَلِمَةَ الْحَقِّ فِي الرِّضَى وَالْغَضَبِ. The Prophet ﷺ, he used to make dua, ask Allah, oh Allah, I ask you to give me the ability to say the truth, even though he always said the truth. كَلِمَةَ الْحَقِّ, give me the ability to say the truth, فِي الرِّضَى, while I am happy, وَالْغَضَبِ, even when I'm angry. That I say the truth, I don't overstep the marks. And this was the dua the Prophet ﷺ, he used to make. Alright, very good. The hadith I think is very self-explanatory. Any questions on that hadith? Because inshallah today we're going to take 2 hadith. Sure.
In the scenario where you said you can't get angry, are there are there evidences to suggest that he did get angry in those instances?
There are many times when the Prophet ﷺ, he became upset because of things that happened in his life. Okay. One of the times when the Prophet ﷺ, he sent 70 of his best Quran reciters to a people who said they want to learn Islam. To a people that they said we're willing to understand and learn. So send us your most learned men. And the Prophet ﷺ sent some 50 or 70 of the best of the Quran reciters, most knowledgeable people. He sent them to this nation so that they learn Islam. But when those people arrived, that nation who asked for those people, they killed them. They betrayed the Prophet and they killed him. And the Prophet became extremely angry. And this is probably one of the most times he became angry. He became so angry that it's narrated that for 50 straight days, every in Fajr prayer, he would make special dua qunut, he used to make dua, and he used to send la'na upon these people. He used to make dua against these people. So the Prophet used to get angry on those times. Why? Because they betrayed his trust. He sent them 50 of his best men, and they killed all of them. So once again, we see that alhamdulillah wa bughulillah, that we love for Allah, and we also get angry for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But in general, this hadith was talking about your personal anger, not them. Okay, so he's saying that in a situation where you are irritated or where you are annoyed, control yourself, don't say anything because it will have consequences. Okay, one of the biggest consequences is when a man is angry, he may end up saying the words divorce, and then that will have a big problem with his family and his children, and then families will split apart. So that's the essence of the hadith. Any other questions before we move on to the next hadith?
And then Prophet Muhammad became angry when some woman had committed some crime, and some companions came to recommend her because the woman has higher status, don't punish her.
That's right. That's right. This situation was when the laws of stealing was clear about the cutting of the hand, and there was I've forgotten the name of the companion, but a senior companion. There was a very honourable lady at that time.
Even Osama actually.
Okay, so there was a lady at that time who had committed theft, but she was from the noble tribes. She was a very high status. And they came to the Prophet ﷺ and said to the Prophet ﷺ that, this is the person and she's done this crime. So can you just overlook it because she's very senior and she has a high place in society. And the Prophet ﷺ with his companions, he became extremely angry. And that's when he made the famous statement. He said, Wallahi, if my daughter Fatima stole it, I will chop off her hand. And that's when he made that strong statement because he became angry. So he also, you see, when it comes to the issues of Islam, that the Prophet ﷺ did become angry. Alright. On that note, if I can ask you now, so we can do hadith number 17, which is, if you can take one of those.
Take them possible. Someone that came, I don't know if you have that one.
Sorry?
Someone that the sister came, I'm not sure if you have.
Sister, do you have number 16?
Was Abu Huraira an angry man?
Was Abu Huraira an angry man? I don't know, but I haven't read anything that shows his anger. But I'm not sure.
It's most likely the person who loves cats.
He never was this person was known for his anger.
He had anger problems.
And he asked your advisor, Prophet would open it.
That's right.
Somebody said, I think he was something similar like me and you. We'll get angry very soon. Quick.
No, you must see the way I try our man. If you attack me personally, see what happens.
No, me and you.
If you attack me personally, what happens?
God forgive.
Okay.
You're going to kill. You're going to kill.
No, definitely not.
Okay, I have to edit that after recording of that. And Abi Ya'la Shaddad ibn Aus رضي الله تعالى عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إن الله كتب الإحسان على كل شيء فإذا قتلتم فاحسنوا القتلة وإذا ذبحتم فاحسنوا الذبحة فليحد أحدكم شفرته وليرح ذبيحته رواه مسلم. Alright, somebody different please if you can read the English.
On the authority of Abu Ya'la from the Messenger of Allah, who said, "Verily, Allah has prescribed excellence in all things. Thus, if you kill in a good manner. If you slaughter in a good manner. Each of you should sharpen his blade and spare suffering to the animal he is slaughtered." Recorded by Muslim.
Okay, very nice, mashallah. Okay, so this hadith is talking about a number of things. The first one is talking about ihsan. Okay, I think in order we have the word ihsan, so we understand the concept, but we'll talk about it in some detail. The narrator of the hadith is Shaddad ibn Aus. Okay, we haven't taken this narrator before, so please take his details. Shaddad ibn Aus. And his full name is Shaddad ibn Aus ibn Thabit al-Ansari al-Khazraji. But if you write down Shaddad ibn Aus, that is more than enough. As his name suggests, he was from the Ansar. And he was the nephew of Hassan bin Thabit. Okay, Hassan bin Thabit. Remind me at the end of the lesson to tell you who Hassan bin Thabit is.
Sorry, Hassan or Hassan bin Thabit?
Hassan.
Hassan.
H-A-S-S.
The poet.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Right.
He also took part in some say he took part in the Battle of Badr. He was very knowledgeable, very wise, and after the death of Prophet ﷺ, he lived in Jerusalem, and he died in 60 AH. 60 years after Hijrah is when he died. He narrated a total of 50 hadith. Okay, he narrated a total of 50 hadith. Let's get the first part. Okay, so that's the first part of the hadith. Now, verily, inna is done for emphasis. Inna Allah kataba. Okay, kataba, we've taken this word before. It means to make something obligatory. Okay, we find in the Quran, Allah says, kutiba alaykum siyam, that the siyam, fasting, is made obligatory upon you. So when you see the word kataba, it also means that something has, Allah has made something obligatory, and what is? It is al-ihsan. Okay? Ihsan has many meanings, but I'm going to just very briefly just call it to perfect. Okay, to perfect something. Okay? Ala kulli shay. Kulli shay, Arabic students means everything. Okay? Kulli shay means everything, without any exceptions. Inna Allah kataba al-ihsana ala kulli shay. Now Allah has prescribed excellence, okay, perfection on everything. That whenever you do something, Allah wants you to do it perfectly. Allah does not like laziness. As a matter of fact, the Prophet ﷺ, he used to make a special dua. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-kasli wal-jubn. Oh Allah, protect me from being kasal, which is lazy. And he said second thing, and protect me from being a coward. Okay? Both of those two things are very prevalent in our time. And the Prophet ﷺ used to make dua, don't make me lazy and don't make me a coward. Let me speak the truth. Okay? So here we find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala orders us with perfection in everything that we do. When we're speaking, we speak in a perfect manner. When we behave in a perfect manner. When we do any job that we do it to perfection. Okay, we want to get 10 out of 10, not 9 out of 10. Okay, when we're praying, we have concentration. When we make wudu, we make sure we do everything properly. When we're talking to people, we make sure we use the right words and we do not offend one another. Okay. In another verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He tells us the same concept of ihsan. Inna Allaha ya'muru bil adli wal ihsan. That Allah orders, ya'mur bil adl. What is al adl? Insaf. Okay? Insaf, justice. Okay? That Allah orders us to be just with one another. Wal ihsan. And that we do things with perfection. So you see how the two are connected. Justice and perfection. You cannot get perfection unless you have justice. Okay, and some of the scholars, they said, Inna Allah ya'mur bil adli. Al-adli is the obligatory acts, while ihsan is the extra acts. So Allah orders you first with al-adl, the obligatory acts, and then He orders you with wal ihsan. And there's a nice quote here, when it's slightly off subject, but it's part of the topic, that I found talking about al-adl, justice. And especially we've seen, just before we had those who came late, you missed the political discussions of Imam Khan, but there was a discussion here about politics and what happened. But Ibn Taymiyyah, he says something beautiful about al-'adl. Okay? And he said, إن الله يقيم الدولة العادلة وإن كانت كافرة ولا يقيم الدولة الظالمة وإن كانت مسلمة. Listen to this and write this and memorize this. Ibn Taymiyyah, he said that verily Allah, إن الله يقيم الدولة العادلة, that Allah will establish a nation, al-'adila, a just nation, وإن كانت كافرة, and even if the people were kuffar. Even if the ideology behind the nation was kufr, there was nothing to do with Islam. Allah says, Ibn Taymiyyah, he says that if the nation is adil, is just, then Allah will allow the nation to stand and develop. And then he says, لا يقيم الدولة الظالمة, that a country which is oppressive, okay, it is ظالم, وإن كانت مسلمة, even if the leaders and the people are all Muslim, Allah will not allow it to stand, because it is based on dhulm, it is oppressing its people. So this is the statement of Ibn Taymiyyah, and wallahi, this is something I think which is apparent in our eyes. Okay, the Muslims are fleeing their countries and running to the West. Why? Is it because they have Islam? No. The reality is because they have justice. We have our rights. Okay, even as Muslims here, our rights are more protected than there are in any Muslim country you can imagine. So again, you know, the fundamentals of those who want to speak about politics and want to talk about bringing political change and so on and so forth, and all their focus is on the number of votes they can get. No, the first thing you need to understand is al-'adl. You haven't got justice amongst yourselves. You haven't got the very basics. Furthermore, Ibn Taymiyyah further, he says, al-nasr, victory, real victory. If you want victory for Islam, al-nasr bil-taqwa, that the victory will come with taqwa. If the people have taqwa, they are aware of Allah, they are conscious of Allah, they want Allah, they want Rasulullah in their lives, they want to do halal and stay away from haram, they have taqwa, then Allah will give these people victory. This is Allah's promise. But Allah says, or Ibn Taymiyyah explains the verses, and he says that if a place or a people have no taqwa, then who is going to be the powerful country? Who is going to be the powerful nation? He says, إِن ضَاعَ التَّقْوَى فَبِالْقُوَّةِ. If there is no more taqwa on the planet, then the nation which is going to be prosperous is the nation which is strong. Okay, the one who has the most nuclear weapons. That's going to be the strongest country. Okay, these are the words of Ibn Taymiyyah. He said this over 400-500 years ago. And subhanAllah, this should be written in gold and be handed out to all of our countries. That if you want success, the first thing is taqwa. It's not the amount of votes you can get. That's not going to bring you the success. Okay, slight tangent, but I thought it was important. And another point to note as well is that you find some people, subhanAllah, they think that that justice is not part of establishing Islam. So when they see certain changes around the world, and a leader has been elected, and maybe he doesn't have a big beard or doesn't wear a turban, and this, they think this is not an Islamic change. Rather, the change is based on justice. If the person is going to bring you justice, only then can you start to bring about real Islamic change. How are you going to bring about Islamic change when your society is deeply entrenched with corruption? What Islamic change are you going to bring? Okay. Anyway. Then the second part of the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, إِذَا قَتَلْتُمْ فَأَحْسِنُوا الْقِتْلَةَ وَإِذَا ذَبَحْتُمْ فَأَحْسِنُوا الذِّبْحَ. That if you are going to kill, and here the first part is talking about the penal code, so the criminal code. So in Islam, if a person kills, his retribution or his punishment is going to be a life for a life. Okay, unless the victims of the person passed away, they forgive the person. So even here, the Prophet ﷺ said, even when you are going to execute these laws out, the hudud of Allah, do them in the best way. We don't torture people, we don't do things to mutilate people. No, if the person is going to face capital punishment, then it must be done in the most human way possible. Then further, the Prophet ﷺ said, then if you are going to slaughter an animal, then slaughter the animal in the best way. Okay, slaughter the animal in the best way. And then the Prophet gives us one example: وَلْيُحِدَّ أَحَدُكُمْ شَفْرَتَهُ, that he should sharpen his blade that he's going to use to do it so sharp that when he slaughters the animal feels the least amount of pain. Okay, so we're going to talk about this. Lots of benefits from that. Okay, so from the benefits of this hadith, the first one, The first thing we learn is Allah's order for Muslims to do things to perfection. Okay, you might not achieve perfection, but do it to the best of your abilities. Allah further, and the Prophet said, "Inna Allah jameel wa yuhibbul jamal." Allah is beautiful and He loves beauty. So when you are dressing yourself, when you are looking after your house, when you're looking after your property, make it beautiful. Make yourself dress well. Obviously, we're not saying make it a fitna, but we are saying that you should be clean. You should smell good. You should be in a perfect manner. Okay, the next thing is in the hadith the Prophet said, "Inna Allah kataba al-ihsan." That Allah, He uses the word kataba, and kataba in Arabic means to write. There are two types of writing, so here a little bit theoretical or theological, I should say. So we have al-kitaba, al-qadariyya, and then we have al-kitaba, al-shar'iyya. Okay, it's just what this means, that what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written everything. We know in Qadr Allah has written everything. There is two types of writing that Allah has done. One is al-kitaba al-qadariyya. This type of kitaba that Allah has written is one that is going to happen no matter what happens. There is no way that this type of qadr is 100% going to occur. An example of that, Allah says, وَلَقَدْ كَتَبْنَا فِي الزُّبُورِ مِنْ بَعْدِ الذِّكْرِ إِنَّ الْأَرْضَ يَرِثُهَا عِبَادُ الصَّالِحِينَ. Oh, which means that the land, Allah SWT in this ayah, He says that He has given this land to the people who had the Zubur, and then this land will be inherited by those who come after. Now, the people who are going to come after are 100% going to inherit that land. This is kitaba qadariyya. It is not going to change. Okay, this is written. The second type, which is al-kitaba al-shar'iyya, is, for example, kutiba alaykum al-qital wa huwa kurhun lakum. Okay, so for example, Allah says that Allah has written for you jihad, even though that you find it very difficult. Now, does that mean everybody is going to perform jihad? No, it doesn't mean that, but it means it's been prescribed, and some will do it and some won't do it. Whereas this one, al-kitaba al-qadariyya, is going to happen, okay, 100%. Whereas al-kitaba al-shar'iyya is one that some will do and some will not do. But both things, Allah uses the word. Why am I saying this? Because Allah uses the word kataba in the Quran to mean this meaning. Another example, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykumus siyam. Now, when we say kutiba alaykumus siyam, Allah says that He has made fasting obligatory. Is everybody on the planet going to fast? No, the non-Muslims are not going to fast. Are all the Muslims going to fast? Most of them, but some are, maybe some who are ill, some who have a reason will not fast. So once again, it is kitaba, but it is shariah, meaning it is going to happen to some and not going to happen to others. Okay, the other benefit we can take here, again, for those who have been mentioned, willing to write down the teaching techniques of the Prophet ﷺ, that the Prophet ﷺ always uses examples to portray his message. And those examples are the ones that people are aware of. Okay? At that time, most of the people, they were farmers, or they were shepherds, or they had interaction with animals. They didn't go to the butcher and buy 5 kilos or thigh or the back. No, they would, if they wanted meat, they take a chicken or they take a sheep and they will slaughter it. So they all know how to do these things. So that's why the Prophet ﷺ, when he wants to talk about ihsan, doing things properly, he gave them the example which they know, and that is the slaughtering of the animal. So we learn from here that when we want to teach somebody something, we give examples that they understand. Okay? Examples to kids of your time. There's no harm in using examples of maybe children's programs or games or whatever is going viral at that time, okay, so that they understand your point. Okay. All right, so now we're going to go into another topic, and if you can put the title down for this topic as al-dhabiha. Okay, can I rub this off the board? Yeah. Okay. Put the title as al-dhabiha. We're going to be talking about so slaughter. Okay. Why am I talking about this? Dhabiha. Dhabiha is, in my opinion, I think a misunderstood concept. Okay, dhabiha. What is halal meat? How does meat become halal? Okay, what are the circumstances behind that? So let us have a look. There are three things when we're looking at halal meat. Okay, when we're looking at halal meat, we must fulfill three conditions. Number one is the shurut, the conditions of the dhabih. Okay, that is the conditions of the one who is slaughtering. Okay, so this is how we can know that the meat that we are eating or the meat that we are buying, is it halal or is it not halal? By the end of this lesson, hopefully, you would have learned that. Number two, shurut al-madhbuh. Okay, the condition of the meat itself, the meat or the animal. And the third is shurut al-ala. Okay, the conditions of the tools that you use. Okay, so the conditions of the tools that you use. Okay, so we're starting off with shurut al-dhabih, the conditions of the person who is slaughtering. So the person now who's carrying the knife or is going to give the slaughter, the first condition for that is that the person must be Muslim, or he can be Kitabi. Okay, Muslim, you know who is a Muslim, who is a Kitabi, who is Ahlul Kitab? Christian and Jews. That's it, Christians and Jews. Okay, that is what is meant by Kitabi, no one else. Okay, a Christian or a Jew. So one of these three people are the ones who are allowed to do the slaughter. Yeah, so Christians and the Jews. Now, what's the proof for that? Somebody would say, how can the Christians or the Jews slaughter our meat? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, وَطَعَامُ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ حِلٌّ لَكُمْ وَطَعَامُكُمْ حِلٌّ لَهُمْ. Keep your questions at the end. While I'm going to be speaking, I know you're going to have lots of questions. Write them down and we'll answer all of them, or some of them will get answered while I'm talking. So we're going to go through some controversial things, and then those controversial will get ironed out, and then if you have something left over, you can ask me. So let me go through it first. So Allah says, طَعَامُ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ حِلٌّ لَكُمْ. The food that has been given to the people of the book, Ahlul Kitab, حِلٌّ لَكُمْ is halal for you. You can eat their meat. وَطَعَامُكُمْ حِلٌّ لَهُمْ. And your meat is also halal for them. So all of our discussion is talking about Muslims, Jews, and Christians. Nobody else. That's the first thing, yeah? Nobody else. Okay. Let's move over to the third one, shurut al-ala. The Prophet ﷺ, he said in Hadith, مَا أَنْهَرَ الدَّمَّ وَذُكِرَ اسْمُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ فَقُلْ. That أَنْهَرَ الدَّمَّ, that which makes the blood come forward, gush out, okay? And that which Allah's name has been pronounced, alayhi faqul, then you can eat this. So write this down somewhere as well, okay? That in this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, that which makes the blood gush forward, so anhara ad-dam, which made the blood gush forward. Okay, the gushing is important, okay? Made the blood gush forward. And the second thing, وَذُكِرَ اسْمُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ, and the name of Allah is mentioned on that thing. فَكُلْ, you can eat it. Okay, so here the Prophet said, مَا أَنْهَرَ الدَّمِ. So, مَا أَنْهَرَ الدَّمِ. Okay. So this word means to gush, okay, and this means whatever. Okay, for those who study Arabic and those who study Usul al-Fiqh, the ma here means, it gives the meaning of al-umum, of anything. So the Prophet Prophet said anything which produces the blood to gush forward is allowed for you to slaughter the animal. So give me an example for those who have done zabiha. What kind of things can someone use to do a slaughter?
Knife is one.
Knife is the obvious one. Okay, but let's say somebody doesn't have a knife.
Sword.
Or a sword. Somebody doesn't have like metal. What other things could someone use? Okay, if you use that, that's a type of blade.
Well, sharp stones or something.
Well done. Okay, so this is, I was just going away from metal. So the point is, if you have a sharp stone, people in the old days, they used to sharpen the stones, and they used to use a stone as well if they had no knife. Okay, so therefore, bil hajar, so it's fine, it's permissible to use a stone as well. As long as it causes the blood to gush forward, it is halal. But there are two things that we're not allowed to use. I don't think anybody will ever use them, but still, this is the hadith of Prophet ﷺ. The two things that we are not allowed to use is, number one, a sin, is teeth. Okay? We cannot use teeth. Okay? Irrespective of whichever animal it is, you can't sharpen them and make them like a blade and use them as a blade. It's not allowed. What is dhufr, which is the nails. Okay? We can't use nails as well. Okay? So some animals have big nails. Someone might think we can use that nail to do the dhabiha. No, if you use teeth or use nails, the meat will become haram. Okay, so
some scholars have opinion that the bullet, if the blood oozes out from that, is haram.
is halal.
Yeah, some scholars say that it is shoot them.
Okay, when I continue, you'll be able to answer this question yourself. I'm going to give you the tools for that. Also, another thing that you can't use to do slaughter is an azm. You can't use bones. Okay? You can't use a bone also to do a slaughter. And one of the reasons for that, the Prophet mentioned in Hadith that the bone is the food of the jinn. Okay? The bone is the food of the jinn, that's what they eat. Okay? So these things, once again, we have teeth and we have the nails and we have the bones. Those things are not allowed. Okay? And sometimes, we can ask ourselves questions, why are they not allowed? And there's a reasons for all of them. But for now, because of time, we're going to accept those three as being the case. We're not going to use them. So we have understood teeth, nails, and all types of bone is not allowed when it comes to slaughtering. Okay? Alright, so the next one now is shurut al-madbuh. So now the shurut al-madbuh, the animal, what is the condition of the animal that we can slaughter? First and foremost, it has to be an animal which is considered halal. Okay? So somebody can't, I'm giving you mad examples, but just so you understand, somebody can't get a pig and say Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, I think they're going to turn it halal. It's not going to become halal. Okay? Or if you get a dog and you do it, it's not going to become. The first condition, the animal itself must be halal. And the animals which are considered halal are mentioned inside the Quran. We know all of them. Okay? And also that sea animals, those that live in the sea, they don't require dhabh. Okay? That's very obvious. I think everyone knows that. Sea creatures do not require dhabh. You can eat them as they are. So even if you see a fish floating on the top of the sea and it's dead, you can pick it up and bite it if you like. Okay? So the fish don't require dhabh. And another condition here, if you can write here, is that the blood must gush out. Okay? So when you cut the animal, the blood must come out. Now, there are four organs which must be cut when we are doing the dhabiha. Okay? So the first, actually, we put it as three. Al-Wijdan. Okay, write them down, they will come to it. Al-Hulqum and Al-Mayl. Okay, these are the three or four things that should be cut when we are making a dhabiha. Al-wijdan, okay, is the jugular veins. Okay, the two jugular veins. Okay, if I can show, like, if you put your hand on your neck, you'll feel on either side these two things on either side. Okay, these veins here, they're connected to your heart. Okay, so those two have to be cut. The wijdan. Okay, those two. Then the hulqum is the windpipe, where you breathe from. Okay, the windpipe. And the mani is the, what's the medical word? Esophagus. Okay, the esophagus, this is the pipe. Those who've got some background in medicine, okay, if I make mistakes, biologically correct me, okay? So the esophagus is the pipe which connects it into your stomach, your food pipe. Okay, those are the four, madi. So that's madi. So the wijdan, what did I say was the wijdan in English?
Jugular veins.
The two jugular veins, yeah, that are connected to your heart, that will bring out blood. The hulqum is the windpipe. And the mani is the esophagus, yeah, which connects it to your food system. Okay, those are the four things. Now, it's a long discussion, but the scholars, they say that all four of these must be cut in order for the animal to become halal. Okay, all four of these must be cut in order for the animal to become halal. Some said that if you miss one of them, but you manage to cut the other three, sometimes those who have done the dhabiha will know, sometimes if the animal is very strong, or if your blade is not very sharp, you might not cut all the way through. So if you cut most of them, so like you cut the wijdan and the hulqum, but the mani you didn't really cut, then it's still halal. Okay? But if you only cut, for example, just the mani, and you didn't cut those two, then it's not halal. But that's really, physically, it's impossible. Okay? For the blade to get there, you have to go through the hulqum. Anyway, these are the things you have to cut. Why? So all the blood of the animal comes out. Okay, so the animal becomes halal for us. Okay, and then the next condition is also that dhikrullah in the dhabh, that the mentioning of Allah, okay, where can you put that? Okay, maybe somewhere separate. That the mentioning of Allah, the Bismillah, Allahu Akbar has to be done. Okay, so Bismillah, Allahu Akbar has to be done. The evidence for that was the hadith, مَا أَنْهَرَ الدَّمَّ وَذُكِّرَ اسْمُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ فَكُلْ. The thing which the blood has gushed forward, and you have made mention of Allah's name, then those are the things you can eat. And then another verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said, وَلَا تَأْكُلُوا مِمَّنْ لَمْ يُذْكَرْ اسْمُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ وَإِنَّهُ لَفِسْقٌ. And do not eat those things, لَمْ يُذْكَرْ اسْمُ اللَّهِ, that Allah's name has not been mentioned upon them, وَإِنَّهُ لَفِسْقٌ. Verily, if you do that, that is a wrong doing. But here's a question. Is that all clear now? Yeah? Any questions on those? This is the foundation. Okay? Now, what about if a person does the slaughter, the animal is correct, let's say it's a sheep, and he follows all these conditions, he's done everything correctly, but when it comes to the slaughtering, he forgot. Okay? He did it on purpose, but he forgot to say the tasmiyah, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. Is that animal now halal, or is that animal haram?
Because he forgot. He forgot.
Okay. So we have one person who went on the side of halal. Anyone on this side?
It's halal because if the person, a Muslim person, because if the Christians and Jews they do, they mention halal.
Good.
They don't do that.
That's a good analysis.
Therefore, a Muslim, although he doesn't pronounce it, but in his heart he has got it.
What do you think of
It's
that?
halal.
I think it's halal.
You think it's halal?
Yeah.
Okay, mashallah. Many people think it's halal. So here, فَإِذَا نَسْيَ يُسَمَّ فَإِنَّهُ حَرَامٌ. I'm going to explain. So the first thing that one would say is that because Allah said in the ayah, وَلَا تَأْكُلُوا مِمَّا لَمْ يُذْكَرْ اسْمُ اللَّهِ, do not eat that which the name of Allah has not been mentioned. So the default is that it is haram. Okay, the default of something which Allah's name has not been mentioned is haram. But if a person forgets, okay, then as all of you have said, that it is, according to most of the scholars, it is permissible for a person to eat that meat. Now, when the tasmiyah, the scholars, they say, the four major schools, Imam Ahmed, so the Hanabila, they say that no, even if he forgets, then it is haram. Okay, this is one of the four schools that say it is haram. Then you have Imam Shafi'i, who says that the tasmiyah, okay, the saying of tasmiyah is sunnah. It's not obligatory anyway. It is sunnah. So if a person forgets it, it has no problem. It doesn't affect. Then we have Imam Malik and Imam Abu Hanifa, which most of the subcontinent follow. Imam Abu Hanifa, he said it is obligatory, but with qudra, with the ability. Okay, so if he forgot, it's okay. But if he intentionally does it, then the meat renders haram. Okay, so with the ability that he has to say the tasmiyah.
Well, in that question arises, we have the Ahl Kitab.
Yeah, that's a good comparison, because the meat of the Ahlul Kitab, which I'm going to come to now, is halal for us to eat. Okay, the meat of the Jews and Christians is halal for us to eat, and they, of course, don't make mention of Allah, but the Prophet told us that we can eat their meat. And so therefore that supports the argument that the tasmiyah is not obligatory, it is sunnah. Okay? But irrespective of the scholars, that's the conclusion they've come to. Alright. What is a nahr? So we have a dhabiha, which is where we slaughter the animal. What is a nahr? Okay, mashallah. Okay, it's sister from Sudan, she knows this. Okay, so nahr is how you slaughter a camel. If you haven't seen that, if you're brave, Google it and you'll see how to slaughter an animal. The camel's neck is this big. Okay, so how to do the dhabiha is going to be impossible. Yeah? So the way to do that is they get a big knife, okay, and they lower the animal and they put the knife into the camel's neck. This is called a nahr. Okay, this is allowed as well. Okay, this is also allowed for the camel. Alright. Alright, so the next question is هل تجب التسمية من الكتاب? So if we say that the tasmiyah is obligatory, that the person slaughtering has to say Bismillah Allahu Akbar, then do the people of the book, the Jews and Christians, also have to say Bismillah Allahu Akbar? This is the next question. Okay? And the very simple question, the answer to that is no, they do not have to say Bismillah Allahu Akbar. But here is the condition. The Prophet ﷺ, he said that the dhabiha of the Jews and Christians is halal. There's a word in that sentence, which is the one that's Arabic, is the most important part. What is that? The dhabiha of the Jews and Christians is halal. What's the word? Dhabiha. And the dhabiha is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet has described to us. So if an animal is electrocuted, is that dhabiha? If an animal has been shot in the head, is that dhabiha? So if, like somebody will say that, look, the Prophet he said the meat of the Jews and Christians is halal, and my neighbor is Christian, he gave me some meat. But he is Christian, but the way he killed his animal was through choking or through shooting or through electrocuting. Would we say that this fulfills the hadith? No, because the Prophet said dhabiha ahlul kitab. So the condition is that it has to be dhabiha, because at the time of the Prophet the Jews and the Christians and the Muslims all three used to do dhabiha. Okay, the Muslims still do dhabiha, hopefully, and the Jews still do dhabiha. They're very, very careful actually in the way they do their meat, and the Christians, of course, have gone astray in many of those matters. So that's very important for us to understand, is that it is the meat of the Jews and Christians. The condition is it has to be dhabiha. Now, so we know that the default position of the meat of the Jews and Christians is halal. There was once an incident that took place with the Prophet ﷺ, and in this, Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, she said, أن قوما قالوا يا رسول الله إن قوما يأتوننا باللحم ولا ندري أذكروا اسم الله عليه أم لا. So people will use this hadith, and this is what I'm bringing forward, that Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, she came to the Prophet ﷺ and she said there is a group of Jews and Christians and they give us meat. Okay? So should we eat it? Should we don't know if they mention Allah's name on it or not, should we eat it? And the Prophet ﷺ, he said, وَكَانُوا حَدِيث أَهْلِ الْكُفْرِ يعني أسلموا قريبا. These people had just accepted Islam, or some of them were Muslims, so we weren't sure. فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم سموا الله عليه وكلوا. Say Allah's name, Bismillah, and just eat the meat. Okay? Just eat the meat. This is where we get the concept. Some people find that you'll see them wrongly, of course, in McDonald's or in KFC and they're eating and they say, no problem, just say Bismillah and it becomes halal. Based on this hadith. But it's a misunderstanding. Because the Prophet ﷺ here said to Aisha that these people who were newly Muslims, or some of them weren't, they were Ahlul Kitab, just say Bismillah and just eat. Now, what's the default position here? What is the Prophet ﷺ assuming that these new Muslims or the Jews and Christians have done with their meat?
They've done the zibar.
Very good. Okay? The default was the Prophet ﷺ, he assumed, not assumed, but it was known that they would do the biha. So the issue which is here in contention, which is debate, is the tasbih. Did they say Bismillah, Allahu Akbar or not? But the issue of the dhabiha was never ever a contention. That is something which is a must. And this is what the people of old used to do.
More than blood is haram.
Sorry?
If blood doesn't ooze out, his blood is haram.
That's right. Okay. So here is the question. Here is the question. This is more of a controversial question. Is now, many people you'll find, some of the Muslims, okay, you'll find that in America this is a big debate. I don't know if anybody follows Muslims in America, but there's a big debate about dhabiha, meat. Some of the community, they say you can eat any meat, just say Bismillah, and you can eat it. Okay, you can go to the butchers, go to John, go to Peter, buy your meat, and say Bismillah and just eat it. Because the Prophet ﷺ said to Aisha, don't ask too many questions, just say Bismillah and just eat it. And then there's another group of people who will say, no, that we have to check our meat, and it has to be from Muslim sources, and we're not allowed to eat the meat of the people of the book. So question to you guys is today, first question, is the meat of the Jews and the Christians today, in your opinion, is it halal to eat?
I think
You have one no.
I think the Jewish people still follow the traditional way of slaughtering.
Okay.
But the Christians are picked up. So
Okay.
I wouldn't eat from a Christian.
Okay. So I think on both sides, I would agree with that. Okay. So the Jewish meat, the kosher meat is halal. That's fine. They take great care. So we can eat the Jewish meat. Okay. So that's fine.
But they don't say Allahu Akbar, you know.
They don't say Allahu Akbar, but we've established that the Bismillah, Allahu Akbar is recommended to do. Okay, and one should do it, but if not, you can eat the meat of that. So we've dealt with the Jewish and the kosher meat. What about Christians now? Okay, so okay, Pakistanis don't like meat.
We don't do zibar.
Just the name as well, we don't like it.
No, actually,
So-
animal is dead.
So would
The
we?
dead animal is haram anyhow.
Okay, so let's say, for example, there's a McDonald's open here, and the owner is Christian. Okay, he wears the cross. He says, "I'm Christian. I go to church every Sunday. This is my McDonald's." Would you eat there? Why would you not eat there? Is my question. Because the Prophet ﷺ said that the meat of the Jews and the Christians is halal.
But Quran says dead animal is haram.
But how do you know it's dead?
Well, if the animal died, when you shop, animal dies.
But how do you know they shot it?
A lot of the factories now, they kill the animal before they slaughter it.
Is that fact?
Most of the time.
Most. So it's not fact. So would you eat the meat of the Christians?
The thing is, in my mind, the technique they use,
I'm playing devil's advocate. Yeah.
if I feel that it hasn't been slaughtered properly, then I wouldn't eat it.
Okay, that's fine. I'm not talking personally. You are the Mufti of London, okay, and you have to give a fatwa for all the Muslims in London, okay? I'm asking you, what are you going to say? And not personally.
No.
What are you going to say? And you have to back up your answer. Who's going to give you a strong enough answer? Because this is a very contentious discussion. There are many Muslims that go to McDonald's and KFC. You'll see it. People saying there. I'm talking
Especially
about.
Saudi people when they come
You will see it. So, and their argument is they're Christians. Okay, and the Prophet ﷺ told us not to ask. When it comes to meat from Jews and Christians, we are told by the Prophet ﷺ not to ask them. Even a Muslim, if a Muslim comes, like the brother comes to me and he gives me a plate of, I don't know, tandoori chicken, okay? Am I going to ask him, brother, where did you buy the meat?
No.
Who is the butcher? Okay?
No.
I'm not allowed to ask him.
No.
Okay, the same thing the Prophet said with the Jews and Christians, you're not allowed to ask them. Okay? Just take it. Therefore, I'm asking you, if a Jew knocked on your door and gave you some kosher kebabs, you'll eat it.
Yeah.
But if Christian knocked on your door and gave you some kebabs, would you eat it? You have to give me an answer with some evidence.
because Hadith भी तो है ना एक इधर से you can sleep on a Christian's house Pani there.
Okay.
And the Jews, you can don't sleep there.
Okay, that's a good answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. But more than that, yeah.
I think the Christian they will do it, the blood doesn't gush out.
What do they do?
They don't cut them the way Muslims and the Jews do. The blood goes out.
But how do you know that?
You'd have to go to the source of where the
So
slaughter
every
house is.
time I buy a burger, I have to make sure I check that that's come from
Yes.
the slaughterhouse, and then I eat it.
Yeah.
If you
It's a bit over the top.
But because it's such a difficulty, you'd say over the board, just say no completely.
Okay.
if you are
I'll give you the answer in a minute. So you got 1 more minute to.
if you are aware of the situation, if you look at the most of the Zabia places, most of the time these Christians go and shout against her because they are against cutting the throat, gushing out. So it's most times the way they do it, the blood doesn't gush out.
Okay, that's a good answer, but again, you use the word most. So it leaves room for the fact that it might be correct.
But the Quran says dead animal is haram.
But they're not dead, uncle.
So when they shock the animal, electric shock, it dies when it kills.
But how do you know they electrically executed every single animal? This is my
They say in this country compulsory. In this country
Okay,
compulsory.
last comment. Or is this someone says it? Okay, yeah, go on.
Majority of the Christians now slaughter using other methods than zibah.
Good, we stop there. Very good, mashallah. So the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where he said that you can eat the meat of the Jews and Christians, this is using a principle in usul which is called istishab ul-hal, which means that you go on the default setting. The default setting at the time of the Prophet ﷺ was that Jews and Christians, they slaughtered, they did the biha. This was the default setting. Now some people believe today, some Muslims believe today, that we still follow that default setting. I don't agree with that. Okay, I don't believe that. The default setting now for the Christians is not the biha. Okay, if we did a survey and we checked slaughterhouses for Christians across the globe, I would agree with what Uncle said. This is my opinion, by the way, and the majority of scholars have said what I've said, that majority of the slaughterhouses of the Christians around the world today is not the biha at all. Okay, it is electrocution, it is choking, it is a bullet in the head, it is not the biha. Therefore, and this is important for everyone to understand, is that the default setting now is not the default setting of the time of the Prophet. So when the Prophet said, eat the meat of the Jews and Christians, they used to do the biha. That's why he said, don't ask them, just eat it. Because it was very rare that somebody didn't do the biha. Whereas nowadays, it's the exact opposite. In most cases, in majority cases, it is done by stunning, by shooting, or by electrocuting, and in any case, which I would say it doesn't even exist, because now because of capitalism and manufacturing, they're killing animals like tens by the second, it is impossible to do the biha. So they are not, the default setting is not the biha, the default setting is that it is haram, and that's my humble opinion when it comes to the meat of the Christians. I don't believe the meat of the Christians today is halal, and we should avoid it and not eat it. And more than that is the fact that now you've got Muslim butchers on every road. So there's no real need for you to even go to a Christian butcher. And you should advise people not to eat the meat of the Christians as well, because it's very obvious, they do not use the biha. So very good. The word was majority, which I was looking for. The final thing before I sit down is the fact that some people, they think that when you do the biha, you have to face the animal towards the qibla. You do not have to do this. This is not part of the condition of the biha. On that, inshallah, that was a very fruitful discussion. Any questions before we conclude?
You said Jewish, we can eat Jewish.
You can eat Jewish. Because the Jews, mashallah, subhanallah, this is something which really praise to them and a dispraise to us, is that they take great care of their meat. Okay, they kosher meat, they have factories. If you ever go there and see how clean and how accurate they slaughter the animal, is clean. And unfortunately, how many of our Muslim restaurants that say halal on the window have been checked and the meat is not halal, okay, or the meat is found to be cat or dog or something like that. Okay, we don't take care of the meat that we serve. I'll tell you a real story. Okay? I'll tell you a real story. That even when I was in Egypt and I studied there for 7 or 8 years, while we were there, towards the end, after the military dictatorship of Sisi, when he came, things became very unstable. So law went out the window. Butcher shops, many butcher shops, at the back of the butcher shop, in their bins, people found heads, legs of donkeys. Okay, so they were slaughtering donkeys and selling the meat to the people as sheep or as baqarah, and the people were eating them. Okay, so this is the Muslim. And then when you see things like this, and we're talking about establishing an Islamic country, Islamic governance, you can't even eat halal meat, let alone have some form of governance. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Yeah. Okay. 1 second.
Sure, you're aware of HMC, HFA.
Yeah.
One of the stuns, but some people say the stunning doesn't actually kill the animals, just to keep them in position so you can cut it. So do you have a view?
Yeah, on that as well. I think it's the more accurate is the HMC, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the HMC, they guarantee, and this is very good for everyone. If you see the HMC sticker, in my humble opinion, that's halal. Okay, you're nothing to worry about. Okay. HMC is where they guarantee that the animal has been dhabiha. There's been no stunning taking place. It's been dhabiha. Whereas the HFC, is it?
HFA.
HFA, they allow stunning, but the animal doesn't die. They allow the stunning so the animal becomes weak. And when the animal becomes weak, then they do the slaughter. Okay, this is ikhtilaf. The scholars have disagreed with this. Many people say it's not allowed, and some people say it's allowed because it's not dead. So you can accept it. So HFA, you can say HFA, right?
Yeah.
The HFA is also halal, you can accept it, but me personally, I feel comfortable with HMC. Okay, because I know that this is pure meat. And we should take our meat very seriously. Our food, what we put inside our stomach, should take it very seriously. Yeah? So that's my opinion on that. The reason is because when you stun the animal, okay, won't take much longer, when you stun the animal, is what it does, the electricity, what it does, it slows the brain and the heart down. So when you slow the brain and the heart down, when you do the dhabiha, the heart is now beating slowly, so the blood that's going to come out is very little. Whereas if the animal is alive and it's safe, and we know from the custom from our sunnah that the animal should be safe, should be kept healthy, should be fed, don't show him the knife. So he's very happy, his heart is beating, then you slaughter, and the heart, when it's beating and it's strong, all the blood is going to come out. So this is the problem. So this is why the HFA, we have an issue with that. But still, I wouldn't say it's haram. Me, I would say on the safe side, and I would advise my students to go with HMC. Okay, HMC was the one. There's a question, right?
Yes, you mentioned about like restaurants sticking and rice cooker. How much of that is our responsibility to?
Very good question. Okay, very good question. Now, you see halal stickers everywhere, and what do we assume? The default setting, again, is if somebody puts a halal sticker up, okay, then it's halal. That's the default setting. So you're not blameworthy. If somebody's got a halal sticker up, and you go there to buy your meat or to eat, you're not blameworthy if the meat is halal. Okay, but there is something in Arabic or in Sharia called al-qara'in. Al-qara'in means signs, indications. Okay, so if a person, his hands smell of smoke, his teeth are yellow, his lips are black, his eyes are a bit funny, what do you think this person's doing?
Smoking.
He's smoking. Did you see him smoking? No. So the qara'in, the signs indicate that he's a smoker. So the same thing with if somebody sticks up a sign of halal outside, and you know who's the owner, and you know this person, he likes to go out on Friday night, you know that he doesn't really care about halal and haram in other places, the signs tell you that it's best not to go. Okay? Like we find many shops where they have off license on the right and halal meat on the left. Now, if you don't fear Allah in selling alcohol, how do I trust you in you fearing Allah and giving me good meat? So these are what's called qara'in. But if you do buy from there and you do buy your meat and you do go to a restaurant, you're not sinful for that, okay? Because they said halal. But you should use your intuition and see the environment, and you can tell where something is halal or haram. Any other questions? Okay.
Somebody who was Imam in the masjid.
So 1 second, after this question.
I have a question.
A lot of time when an animal is ill, they tend to slaughter it because the quality of the meat may be affected as well. So is that allowed as well, halal, when an animal is not well?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So if the animal is not well, or even if you know if the animal hasn't got long to go, then the best thing is to slaughter it, okay, and to eat it. Okay, it's permissible to do that, unless the illness is such that it's detrimental to eat. But if it's, for example, old, like you've got a sheep and it's old, and you can tell it's not that much longer, the best thing to slaughter and eat it. Otherwise, you'll waste all that meat. Yeah. Sorry, Uncle, you had a question.
Some scholars of opinion, if the animal has been shot, and before you get to animal, it dies dead, because the blood oozes out. They say halal.
Okay, this is called a sayd. Okay, I'll try to keep this as brief as I can. A soid is hunting. There are some animals which we are allowed to eat, but they're wild animals. We can give an example of an animal that we're allowed to eat, which is wild.
Wild rabbit.
A wild rabbit, yeah, very good example. Or a deer, you can eat deers as well, yeah. So these wild animals, it's going to be pretty much impossible in most cases to catch it and to do the biha. Okay, so this is called soid. When you do soid hunting, in most cases you're going to either fire a bullet or an arrow or something that you're going to throw something at the animal, you're going to catch it. Now, the scholars are saying when it comes to animals which include soid, then you say the Bismillah, you make the intention of the biha, you say Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, and then you launch whatever it is that you're going to launch. Whatever it is an arrow or a bullet or whatever, hit the animal. You hit the animal, when the animal goes down, you should rush to the animal and try to do the biha. Okay? But if you get to the animal and the animal has died before you've done the biha, it is still halal for you. Okay? Why? Because it's a wild animal. Okay? This is an exception to the case. Okay? This is an exception to the case. In other cases, you do the biha. But in the case of wild animals, then you make the intention for the biha and you fire it and then you try to do the biha as you can. But if you get there, the biha is still permissible to you. Next question.
Is there a specific list of what's wild? Or how do you know?
Maybe you can find it. Animals that are wild. Hunting animals. Yeah. I can have a look. Okay. Anything else?
Fox.
No, fox is not allowed.
One thing about the sticker, Lahm al-Halal.
Yeah.
I have seen with my own eyes on South Broadway, opposite post office.
Yeah.
The butchers, who was preparing the meat, they were Mr. Saints. But the sticker outside was Lahm al-Halal, and there's a big queues of Muslims buying meat from them because it was very cheap.
Okay. You see again here, the fact that they've got halal there, you can't say it's haram. But if you use your intellect and you use your common sense, you will feel this is not something's not right. So don't go there. I can't say it's haram because there's no authority to say it's haram. But the signs show you that something is not right. Okay, this is something. There's a question mark here. My last thing, and I promise I will conclude here. There is another thing. If you have, let's say, an animal, a cow or a sheep, okay, in a well, it's fallen into a well, okay, and the animal is in the well and is going to die. If you leave it there after maybe 1 day or 2 days, the animal inside the well is going to die. The animal inside the well, and also you can't reach the animal to do the dhabiha. What do? You can either A, leave the animal to die and then let it go with the water and it will go out, or 2, you can try to pull the animal out, and but by the time you pull it out, it will die. Okay, because you can't get into the dhabiha. So what would you, maybe if there's a third option, what do you think? What does the Sharia tell us to do? And this is quite interesting.
We'll try to pull it out.
Try to pull it out, but it might die. Okay, so you lose the sheep.
It's might. It's might.
It's might. What do you, anyway? Alright, in this case, and only in this case, that the Sunnah teaches us that if the animal is in a situation like a well where you can't reach it and it's going to die, then you throw something at the animal, something sharp at the animal, okay, that's going to cause a cut to the animal, irrespective of the place, and it causes a cut and it bleeds, then you have performed the biha. Okay? Then once you've performed that, you can pull the animal out and you give it. Okay? That's only in the case where you can't perform the biha. So don't apply. These are exceptions to the rule. That's why I like to leave them to the end.
And one more question.
Last question, then we finish it.
And even in Christian meat now, you can have free range chicken and stuff. So is there a sharia to say how the animal should be kept before it is actually cut? Because the Muslims don't even look after the animals.
Yeah, that's a good point. Animal rights. The animals, of course, we know number 1, the right that the blade should be sharp. Number 2, no animal should be slaughtered in front of another animal. No animal should be tortured. Okay, where sometimes you see in our countries just throw the animal to the floor and punch it and kick it and they slaughter it. And in Pakistan, you see like when the way they slaughter chicken, they pull one out, slaughter, pull another one, slaughter, and all the chickens behind are screaming.
Yeah.
This is not from the Sunnah. You do one away from the others. Okay, so this is the Sunnah of how to slaughter the meat. But if a person did slaughter an animal in a cruel manner, but he still performed the biha, the animal is halal. But he is sinful in front of Allah for being cruel to the animal. It's not allowed. We know the Prophet ﷺ, once there was a lady, we know this story from Bani Israel. She was a prostitute from Bani Israel. And she went in, she saw a dog that was starving. It had no water. She went into the well herself, and with her shoe, she brought out water from the shoe and she gave it to the dog to drink. And the dog drank it. And the Prophet ﷺ said that even though this woman is a prostitute from Bani Israel, she's guaranteed Jannah. Because why? She showed kindness to the brother and gave water. And the same thing, there was a woman who had a cat and she would torture the cat. And the Prophet ﷺ said, this woman, because she's torturing this cat, is going to go to Jahannam. Because the cat is from my creation. And he's torturing the cat. On that we conclude. Jazakallah khair. Barakallahu fikum. Subhanakallah wa bihamdika. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum.